mission to expose Islam for what it really is. Why did you choose to dedicate your life to this?
Pleasure to be with you.
So I hear you are an Iraqi exile on a mission to expose Islam for what it really is. Why did you choose to dedicate your life to this?
Simple. I'm Iraqi by birth. My mother tongue is Arabic. My parents were educated and secular people who sent me to Europe to study engineering. While in Europe, I was free to read, study, and debate any subject, in fact, without fear of retribution. I wanted to find out more about the biblical characters mentioned in Muhammad's Quran, since only their names are recorded without any background. When first reading the Bible, I was very shocked at the incredible number of contradictions with the same stories in the Quran. Well, what started as a curiosity has turned into a mission to enlighten and educate people about the absolute ungodliness of Muhammad's Quran. My talk with you is almost the thousandth that I have so far had with American talk shows, and not a single one in Europe. Back to you.
I want to ask you, because people are attacking me for my comments about radical Islam, but I've said before, I'm not anti-Muslim, I'm anti-terrorist, I'm anti-radical Islam. But we're all wondering, is the Quran really advocate violence? Is there a difference between progressive Islam and radical Islam? Can you enlighten us?
There is no such thing as shades in Islam. Had anybody heard, for example, in World War II, a moderate Nazi, a secular Nazi, a militant Nazi? No. There were no radical Nazis either. No, and anything in communism. Why only in Islam we have a different shade? There are no shades in Islam. In fact, in the Quran, there is a verse, chapter 5, it says, if a Muslim becomes a friend of a Christian or a Jew or any non-Muslim, is automatically made into an apostate subject to death and destruction. There are no shades in Islam. It is violent, violent, violent.
And I've heard from several folks as well, even some Muslim Americans, that say, yes, if you look in the Quran, you can find violence, but they're cherry-picking verses to make it seem like it's violent. And they say, if you look at the Bible, you can see the same thing. But in your work, you compared the Bible to the Quran. So are they similar in ideology, similar in text, in comparison of the two?
They are completely different. Those people who accuse you or accuse me, and then they bring the Bible into the story. Let's get this straight. I will pay $200,000 to the first person who can find us a single verse in the New Testament and a single verse in the Hebrew Bible inciting the followers of Moses and inciting the followers of Jesus to murder all those who are not Christians or Jews. They don't exist. But I will show you 119 verses in the Quran inciting the Muslims, the followers of Muhammad, to slaughter, to subjugate, to rape, to plunder non-Muslims. By the way, non-Muslims today are 80% of current humanity.
And when we're also speaking of this, I know even people that study religion say that when we go across all the religions, there's a remarkable essence of similarities between all of the texts. And they say, hey, maybe we all do follow the same God. We all worship the same God. We just call it by different names. But in your text, in your writings, you said that God and Allah are not the same. Can you kind of enlighten us as to the differences?
Yes. They keep telling us that Allah is the same as the God of the Bible. It's not true. Allah was the name of the supreme rock god of pagan Arabia centuries before Muhammad and his Quran. When you study the history of the Arabs, you will find out that Allah was the supreme god of 360 gods and goddesses in stone in pagan Arabia. By the way, Allah of pagan Arabia had 3 daughters, Allat, Wal-Uzza, Wal-Manat. So how could that possibly be the same as the God of the Bible? So what happened? Muhammad plundered, plagiarized, pirated and or perverted verses from the New Testament and the Hebrew Bible and arrogated to himself. So he told his followers, the pagan Arabs, if you believe in me, Allah is the only God they have to believe in, and this God, Allah, is the same as the God of the Bible. Not true.
I want to move on as well, because we know that there's a lot of sectarian violence in the Middle East right now. We've got Sunnis and Shia warring with each other, and then we've got the Kurds as well. Many people in the Western world don't understand the differences, but I've said this before. It seems as though we advocate for one side, but then we turn around, we're fighting another sect of Islam. So can you briefly describe to us what the differences are, and if they are in fact all on the same team at the end of the day?
First of all, they are on the same team at the end of the day simply because they're reading the same book. Which one? The Quran. Now let me explain to you the difference between Shia and Sunnis. The day Muhammad died in the year 632 AD, that day split Islam into two parts. Who are the Shia? The Shia are the people who believe that the Khalifa, that means the successor to Muhammad, should be of the bloodline of Muhammad. That means the bloodline that is from Ali and Fatima, his wife. But the Sunnis believe that any Muslim, any Arab Muslim who knows the Quran, who is a decent person, can be a Khalifa. For 1400 years, Muslims have been killing each other. The Shia call the Sunnis kuffar, and the Sunnis are 85% of the Muslim world, and the 15% who are Shia call the Sunnis kuffar. So according to Islam, nobody is a Muslim. Contradiction.
And we know right now that ISIS practices a very extreme version of Islam. And many people are saying, even the President of the United States, President Obama, has said, don't compare ISIS to Islam. They're not the same thing. What's your take on that?
First of all, Barack Hussein Obama is a pathological liar. End of conversation as far as concerned. ISIS, by the way, ISIS is more Islamic than Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. I'll tell you why. Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, they follow the Quran word by word. ISIS follows the Quran letter by letter, dot by dot, and comma by comma. They are the most Islamic of all Islam. Full stop.
I want to ask you as well about something we've heard in Islam and many Westerners are questioning as well. When they go to paradise, martyrdom, do they, the 72 virgins that they're supposed to receive in paradise, do Muslims really believe that at the end of the day, that if they do murder infidels, that they will go to paradise and they will get 72 or some odd number of virgins?
Yes, that's the whole point. This is why the Judeo-Christians, being enlightened people, cannot possibly imagine that any decent and intelligent human being would believe that after they blow themselves into a million pieces killing infidels, they will end up with the 72 virgins. But I'll tell you this, when the Pakistanis captured some would-be suicide bombers, and the Israelis captured the same, guess what these people were covering? They covered their private parts with metal tins. Why? They asked them, said, because I wanted to have the sex with the 72 virgins. We can laugh at this, but the joke is on us because we don't believe them. Yes, that is exactly what they do. They want the 72 virgins. They never get them, of course.
I want to turn to something that I said last week that stirred up a lot of controversy. I said yesterday's moderate is today's terrorist. Of course, I was speaking of Mohammed Abdulaziz and the attack on Chattanooga on the 5 service members that died as a result of that. But people were attacking my comments, saying that there's no way that this is the largest religion in the world. There's no way that they can all be murderers, and that I was going too far. I was hateful. But I want to talk about that. We are combating ISIS right now. We've got them in the United States. We've got them all over the Middle East, expanding a caliphate. So I'm wondering, everyday Muslims that follow the religion, that follow Islam, is a caliphate the end goal? Is that what everyone really is striving for?
By the way, you were 100% correct, and they are all wrong. All those who are attacking you are politically correct, dimwits who have got not 2 brain cells of logic. Let me explain something to you. Al-Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 51. I'm going to now recite from the Quran. It says, O ye who believe, Muslims, take not the Jews, Yahud, and the Christians, Nasara, for your friends and protectors. They are but friends and protectors to each other. And he amongst you that turns to them for friendship is of them. What does that mean? It means that any Muslim in the United States of America who becomes a friend of the Jews and Christians is automatically an apostate, subject to death and destruction. This is the Quran. You can't change the Quran. I'll tell you why you can't change the Quran. From the point of view of Islam, the Quran is perfect. When you have something perfect, you can't delete anything or add anything. It is perfect. And that's what it is. But you are absolutely right. Yesterday's moderate or peaceful is tomorrow's terrorist. 100% correct.
And this isn't even coming from a hateful place. This is coming from a place of, I want to understand. I don't want to make empty claims, but when we do examine the text, it's right there, like you said. But I encourage everyone to pick up your book, to read it. I'd love to have you back anytime. I know a lot of my viewers are wondering the same thing. Average, everyday Americans sitting there thinking, what is radical Islam? What is Islam? Let's call it what it is. Let's name the enemy, and let's try to understand, because only if we understand can we combat what's going on in the United States and across the world right now and stop a caliphate from happening. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate all the knowledge and understanding you've provided today, and I encourage everyone to check out your book, and I welcome you back anytime. Thank you so much.